Right, welcome to Yantan Tethera, our small Australian white sheep stud and commercial operation in the hills of Woolamai, located in the Basco Shire of Gippsland. It's pretty cold out here today, but we will see what we can get done. And in regards to the wind, I hope you can hear this. If I swap to voiceover, it's because the wind is playing funny buggers. This is our Crop and Pasture Management Assessment 5, and this is the paddock I've chosen for that. It's known locally as the airstrip. The paddock is 6.1 hectares and was used up until 1982 as an airstrip for the super plains, fertilising all the local farms. It's our flattest and most accessible paddock. More recently, the paddock has been used by the previous owner as a rotational paddock for his Hereford beef operation. We took over about a year ago. The paddock was also cut for hay every season as part of his production system. I currently use the paddock for hay as well, and I have had some adjusted cattle in here, but not for 8 months. And for not having it had cattle in here for 8 months and just after hay, the growth is not great, so we've obviously got some issues here. It's basically a perennial ryegrass and clover mix, and it's got a few native species and stuff coming in as well. There's 4 main issues limiting the current forage production. The presence of capeweed in the paddock. I'd say we've got a good 10-15% coverage in the paddock. A weed management plan will be developed, and the infected area, or potentially the whole paddock, will be sprayed with a herbicide, graze on or Camber M, cover cropped, and then grazed accordingly. Capeweed could also potentially show us that there's an indication of soil salinity. We have a large kangaroo presence, and they'll graze the paddock flat out. We're talking 70-80 kangaroos in one mob sort of thing. Location of the paddock, as we're experiencing today, the southern end of the paddock is extremely susceptible to weather with no shelter established. The topsoil base also at the southern end is quite minimal due to the presence of the coffee rock, which is quite close to the surface. The soil type is a clay loam soil. It's based on a standard pH 1 to 5 water test. The soil came back at a pH 5.6, and based on the calcium chloride pH test, the pH is 4.98. The soil has good total organic matter at 7.28 and above desirable organic carbon at 3.64%. However, our soil is lime deficient, and the base rock layer sits high at the more exposed end of the paddock. As you can see here, it's quite deep, but we change about there. We start getting into a heavier clay base. We've had some fairly significant rain of late, and it's holding up pretty well. We have a very good worm count in our soil, as well as sufficient sulfur levels. The soil is deficient in phosphorus, potassium and nitrogen, and we will be looking at correcting all of these. Given the gradient of the paddock, soil erosion and waterlogging are not an issue. However, the paddock does retain water during heavy periods of rain. To minimise compaction, I don't use a vehicle on the paddock or graze it when wet. Paddock was last fertilised by the previous owner around 2 years ago with an unknown superphosphate blend. I do not currently have a fertiliser program in place, but intend to apply lime at 2 tonnes per hectare annually to bring the pH up. Other soil deficiencies will be addressed through the use of fertilisers. To ensure that nutrients stay on the farm, I'll apply nutrients at rates that match the crop needs. I'll time nutrient applications to coincide with critical growth stages, choose appropriate fertilisers based on soil tests and crop requirements, and will place nutrients where they'll be most effective for plant uptake. I'll also work to prevent soil erosion and maintain a healthy soil structure. Effluent is not used on our farm, however occasionally paddocks are chain harrowed after grazing. The farm utilises surface runoff for dams and all pastures are rain fed. Workplace health and safety considerations in the paddock include: the paddock is very exposed with minimal shelter and can be cold, wet, windy or very hot. To manage this risk, appropriate PPE must be worn when working in the paddock and be reflective of the current weather conditions. No spraying on windy days, no machinery use on fireban days and hot windy days outside of fireban season. No driving in the paddock when it is wet to avoid potential vehicle incidents. No lambing in the paddock to reduce the likelihood of deaths. There is a dam in the paddock. This is a potential water hazard, so we need to keep a safe zone when cutting for hay and a buffer from the dam when driving in that area. The topography of the paddock is also an issue, as there are some steeper sections which you could potentially roll a vehicle on. Limit the speed limit to 10 km per hour. No driving in the paddock when it is wet. Drive to the conditions and don't drive side onto the hill. The paddock is also adjacent to a neighbouring farm and house, so we need to ensure activities are conducted during the hours of 9 to 5 p.m. to reduce any noise impact. Notify neighbours of any spraying activities. We also need to ensure that our fencing is well maintained to protect our own and neighbouring farmers' livestock. Our current farm technology is predominantly focused on animal genetics and animal performance. Once our stock numbers increase, I will likely move to a farm and livestock management system such as AgriWeb, for example. I'll also utilise drone mapping to better understand the farm topography and the impact this has on our various paddocks. The farm has a biosecurity management plan that has the following measures: signage, visitor contractor sign-in procedures, machinery washing and disinfecting, footbaths. For example, we had land care volunteers out that conducted a tree planting and we all had to put our boots through footbaths and mats. Biosecurity measures are communicated prior to a visitor or contractor arriving and then reinforced once again on site. In the current hay paddock of 6.1 hectares, there is an opportunity to rebalance the soil and put in a crop to better support our sheep production. I am proposing to plant a 6-species crop of perennial ryegrass at 40%, cocksfoot at 10%, white clover at 20%, red clover at 10%, chicory at 10% and plantain at 10%. The chosen species will provide improved nutritional value for sheep and lambs compared with our current hay crop, which cannot be used for sheep, or they don't like it. Each of these species have their own benefits in this system in regards to soil and animal systems, but a special mention goes to the chicory, which is a natural anti-parasitic, which I'll take every day of the week in the wormy environment that is Gippsland. The following steps would be undertaken. I will need to address the identified nutrient deficiencies and improve the soil pH to 6.5 or higher to support these species. I'll do this through the application of lime and nitrogen. This would be followed by spraying out the capeweed. I'll then engage a contractor to drill and oversow the paddock with 20 to 25 kilo of seed per hectare. The dry matter target for this chosen method is around 13,000 kilos or 13 tonne dry matter per hectare. If I cut half of this paddock for silage, I'd expect to take off around 39 tonnes of dry matter, which I'd be able to feed out during times a year when it is required in the sheep's diet. As we continue, we will monitor and review our plans and procedures. We will strive for continuous improvement to make sure that we benefit the land, which in turn will benefit us. Cheers for watching. Jake, Yantan Tethera.